What's up, everybody? My name's Music Man. This is going to be my beginner Dream Witch guide. Dream Witch is a character that I've been playing for a very long time. Part of my tourney setup. I really love playing Dream Witch because she's a very strong control-based hunter. She has a lot going as far as technique and map control goes. So she's a very strong strategy-based hunter, and she's also really great if you're good at multitasking. So as you can see here, I'm top 5 on the leaderboard, so hopefully I know a thing or two about this character. Yeah, without further ado, I'm gonna go into a match, and I'm going to explain kind of my thought process when I'm playing Dream Witch, as well as just going over some basic techniques when you're playing. So we're gonna go create a match with some bots. Okay, so when you're playing Dream Witch, you have two types of bodies. One is the main follower right here. So this follower right here is invisible from the survivor perspective. They're not going to be able to see the main body. And you have a little follower here. Now this little follower is what you're going to use to deal all your damage. So you're going to see it can attack just like a normal hunter. But you have a wheel right here to switch between all your bodies. And we'll get to that in a second. So if you go to the main body here, you're going to have a first presence ability here, and you're going to see a little indicator will appear over the survivor, and this means that you'll be able to push your presence 1 ability, and you're going to be able to choose where you want this leech to spawn. So typically what you want to do is you want to place your leech in a way that it's going to sandwich the survivor between both your leech and your follower. Now I just reacted really slow to this one, but you're going to be able to switch between the bodies. And another thing to point out is that each leech has a specific radius set by this red outline right here. And when this leech comes outside of the radius, you're going to lose the follower in 3 seconds. Now what happens when this follower gets out of radius is it'll do what I like to call auto marching. So you can see how the spawn follower is automatically following me. And if I move the main body around, this follower is going to follow me around. You can see how that works there. And it will stop auto marching once it's reached its host. So the spawn follower will go towards the main body all the time. But if you see this leech is currently in an auto marching process. And we'll see once this leech catches up to its host. It was actually catching up to the postman. So now you can begin to see where you can get these leeches doing all these things independently of each other. So generally, as a rule of thumb for Dream Witch, you want to make sure that all followers are doing something in a match. So typically your chase is going to be... Oh, there's another thing I forgot to bring up, but spawn followers will not be deleted upon hitting their host. I mean, obviously it's a spawn follower and main body is the host. But if a leech ends up hitting its host survivor, it will disappear. So we'll see if we can get that in a second. And there we go. We got a hit right there. And as you can see, that got rid of the leech for the seer. Because I took that leech and hit its host. So in your first chase, you want to attack with the spawn body as much as you can. Try to get hits with the spawn follower so that you're going to be able to have more leeches on the map, because the more leeches Dream Witch has, the stronger she gets. So each follower gets their own individual trait. Now the most common one to run on Dream Witch is Patroller. Now there are 2 different types of Patroller for Dream Witch. The main body patroller and the leech patroller. So the main body patroller is going to be far more powerful than any of the leech patrollers, because as you can see, the survivor will not see where it's coming from, because remember, they can't see the main body, and it is very quickly dropped, and a lot of times can take survivors by surprise in a kiting area. Now what makes Dream Witch so powerful is that you can just chain these up. You can see you have multiple patrollers. Each leech has their own individual patroller, but that's kind of the general technique. Now, you can use those traits in the early game very effectively if you're able to learn how to chain the patrollers up together, and when you switch to Blink, eventually you'll have the Blinks all chained up. But yeah, that's overall the starting technique for Dreamwitch. Well, I hope this explanation has been very helpful. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show a video that I had against a very strong team, and how I use Dreamwitch to go ahead and get the win against a very solid team in 4 Survivor Communication. Alright, so this is a recording that I got against GWS, which was one of the solid competitive teams that we have on this server. Now, as you can see, I'm playing on Eversleeping, which is objectively one of Dreamwitch's best maps. And I'm up against Journalist, Batter, Female Dancer, and Aeroplanist, which is objectively a pretty decent comp for Dreamwitch to go against. Now, this Batter ended up spawning in the cabin area, and notice what I'm doing. Just like as I said before, try to set up your leeches so that they will end up trapping the survivor there. Now, this Batter ends up giving me a hit right here, and now what I do is I have the leech go away from the main body. This will make it so that it will get outside of that red radius that I talked about earlier, and that's going to make it so that this survivor is going to get chased by the leeches so much sooner. Now, I know that the spawn is going to go up to the main leech, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my main follower, or main body right here, patroller, the survivor right there, and now the Batter is not going to have anywhere to go. So now I have a very, very early down with the Batter. And another plus right here is that Dancing Geisha was the Aeroplanist. I believe this was the Aeroplanist cipher. There was also someone decoding in the middle, which I could harass later. Now, this is very important. You always want to, at all costs, even if it means not getting a double down, what you want to do is get a leech on the rescuer. You want to prioritize leeches over almost everything. Another thing that happens here is this Journalist ends up getting really aggressive for a body block. And this is like main rule number 2 for Dreamwitch, is that whenever you're given free hits by the survivors, always take them. Always take free hits whenever they're offered, because this will create the snowball effect that you'll hear all the commentators talk about when you have Dreamwitch there. And snowballing basically means you get so much damage that the survivors are not given time to regroup. And that happens when Dreamwitch gets a lot of damage on the table. And you can see that the Journalist is in the area. I'm removing all of these pallets here, and I'm just trying to follow up on the Batter. This all came out of the rescue. And the Batter actually miscalculated the flywheel, that my swing was going to be slower due to the slow box here. And that works out for me. Now what I do is I take that leech, and I didn't explain this in the early tutorial, but whenever you leech later on in the game, you want to have your leech placement disrupting the ciphers if you can. After the early game, you want as much cipher disruption as you can. And I saw that they were removing that leech there. So that leech didn't actually last very long. However, I do still have a lot of pressure. It's still at 5 ciphers remaining. And the survivors are trying to regroup. But as much as I can, I'm trying to avoid letting them go for it. And here's where I trump card. This is a pretty decent time in the match to trump card into a match. Trump card being, of course, that ability right on the Persona web. And this is important. When the Journalist goes for the rescue, Dreamwitch is never going to stuff a Journalist. But you want to make sure that you hit the actual Journalist and not the little follower that Journalist spawns there. And now here's what I do. I create a classic Dreamwitch sandwich. Dreamwitch is a connoisseur and she loves sandwiches, so I end up getting this leech caught between his own leech and the spawn follower. I have the spawn follower camping this pallet right here, so that when he vaults, I will be waiting with the spawn follower, and there was not much that the Batter was going to be able to do without transitioning. Now, there are no harassers in this comp, so I don't need to worry. I mean, of course, the Batter is the only harasser, but the Batter is not going to be able to harass if he's downed. And from here, a good Dreamwitch should not lose from this position. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to, as much as I can, whenever that cooldown's done, I want to go ahead and get more leeches whenever I can. Now, I go after the Journalist because she's already injured. Although if I wanted to, it probably would have been equally viable to go after the female dancer. This is just the split-second decision that I made in the moment. And Journalist ended up getting caught. A little unfortunate they got hit by their own leech, but still this is a very fast middle game as far as a Dream Witch goes. And I would say there's probably two main strategies whenever Dream Witch gets the first elimination. Now, if you get a lot of motivation or a lot of momentum really early, what you want to do is you want to get as many downs as you can to snowball. And in this case, I ended up getting the Journalist. And once again, you see I'm leeching the Rescuer. Now, I could have also leeched the Journalist. That works too. Now, I have a little mishap here. Somehow that blink missed through that wall. But it doesn't really matter so much. And I see once again, I knew he was going to drop that. It was a matter of timing. But there's a critical error that the Survivor makes here, is that their cooldown actually was still on for the jetpack. Aeroplanist has a deceptively long cooldown to his ability, so I was able to go ahead and take advantage of that and get the down on the Aeroplanist. Now, past the early game, Dream Witch doesn't really mind switching between targets very often. So, I mean, I was on the Journalist, and now I'm on to the Aeroplanist. It's all kind of the same thing. They do get to one Cypher remaining, but there's kind of a critical moment that happens here. I have a leech on the Journalist, and I see that Journalist is about to start working on that Cypher, and you can't see it because we're doing a spectating. That was actually a really nice flywheel on the Survivor's part. I wasn't really expecting that. But now my leech is going to be auto-marching towards the Survivor. Now this makes it so that the Journalist will not be able to work on the Cypher, or at least will not be able to work on it safely. Now, I end up having a silly little blind Music Man moment, and I end up missing the female dancer running past me. But this is all good, because I'm able to go ahead and get this hit. Tram's running away, but I end up getting the Aeroplanist down before he's able to jetpack away. And now I have momentum because Journalist will be getting chased, and at the same time, female dancer's injured. And this is where you can kind of see that snowballing, because when everybody's injured, nobody can do a rescue, and even if they could do a rescue, Aeroplanist was dead on chair anyways. So you can see just how powerful it is, and a lot of it stemmed from them needing to de-leech and heal instead of decoding. If they were able to take that time early game and didn't have to go back for like the heal on the Journalist and de-leeching the, I believe it was the Journalist I leeched multiple times. This ended up creating that sort of snowball effect, and yeah, from here it's just cleanup, so I just need to make sure that they don't end up popping the last Cypher behind my back. And again, what you want to do is, first of all, you want to make sure you get as many hits on the table at the same time as you can. Secondly, you want to make sure that all of your Dream Witch followers are doing something at every given moment. So whether that's going to be getting them out of radius to auto march back to their host, or like, for instance, what I was doing with the Journalist on the last Cypher, or I was having a lot of silly blinks towards the end of this match, but I figured I was winning anyways. Once again, another nice flywheel from the female dancer, and Journalist still has a leech on them, so I decided to go for this elimination. And from here, yeah. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope you found it really helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below in the comment section. I would love to answer any of you guys' questions here. From here, it's just a matter of cleanup, but as you can see, Dream Witch is a very, very fun hunter to play, especially if you don't really like doing a lot of camping as a hunter. Dream Witch is one of those hunters where you're able to do a lot of things while survivors are on chair, which is something that a lot of hunters are usually kind of stuck whenever that happens. But Dream Witch is a very, very fun character. Feel free to drop any questions below, and yeah, I think we've kept this video down to about 15 minutes, so yeah, that's a quick crash course on Dream Witch. I'm planning on making an intermediate and advanced Dream Witch guide as well, and yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the video.